Hey y'all, I hope that you're having a great week. I'm excited to be back here. I don't know how many of you saw my post, but I had COVID and have been really, really, really sick. And so, just in all honesty, this is the first time I've had on any kind of makeup or anything like that in 2 weeks. So, it actually took me a long time to get dressed today because I was so exhausted, but it feels good to be here and I'm really excited to share this content. So instead of trying to do like a makeup one, as you know, I try to put this in bite-sized pieces. I thought instead of doing that, because I don't want to be behind on the amazing content I'm going to share next month, we would just push this all back in today and make it be just one workshop. So if you're joining me live, let me know. And if you're watching the replay, let me know. But this is going to be available to you to watch again and again here inside the group because I love making things where I feel like you guys can come back and do this over and over again. And the reason why I'm sharing this about client journey is because I don't think it gets talked about enough. And it is critical to being able to uncover what some are where are the places inside of your business where you have the biggest opportunities, because a lot of times when I work with clients, even if they are for most purposes, doing well, making money, there's always something that's not really working the way they want it to. So let me tell you a little bit about what I mean by that. So you may have a group where you realize that you're not making any sales from that group. And that can be kind of frustrating if you're putting a lot of work into it, you're showing up, you're wanting to make sure that that's a place where you're able to nurture and convert into sales. Okay. So another thing may be that you have a challenge or workshop, a course, anything where there's some sort of series of information where then you're leading people into buying something and then you're looking for a conversion. So that's another thing. You may also find that you are a person who gets on sales calls and has a really hard time converting sales. So wherever in your business that you feel like you're doing the right things, but you're not seeing the results that you want, this is an amazing exercise because more than likely, it's just small little tweaks, right? It's just little bitty things. So a few things that I see when I work with clients in our coaching containers is that, we're trying to create their signature marketing system. And this process is huge. It's a huge piece of that. But it's also the reason why I don't just scratch somebody's business. I mean, that's not the answer. And it's not the answer for you either. It's how can we look at what's working and what's not working and what's like kind of working and figure out how we can make some of these very small changes. That is exactly what you'll hear me talk about in the Magnetic Entrepreneur podcast, because season 5 is all about working with one coaching client so that you can hear my exact process for helping people develop their signature marketing system and apply that to your own business. So every person's business is different. Every person's marketing system is going to be different, but the process of figuring it out, that's what I think we miss a lot. We don't hear the process. We just hear about the end result. And then maybe you've tried to buy somebody else's blueprint, right? And you thought, this doesn't work for me. And so you either feel like this is a waste of money or you think, well, what is wrong with me? Absolutely nothing. So I'm so glad that you're here. If you're joining me live, make sure and say hello. Um, Actually, I think I have my comments mode. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And ask me questions. This is your time to think about me as your business coach and ask me any questions that you may have about, how this applies to your business. Maybe you don't know what some of these terms mean, like anything. Just take this time. It's completely open and free for you to ask any questions that you might have. So let's jump into creating your client journey. Your client journey is the process that a person goes to from just having awareness about you, so just knowing like who you even are, to actually becoming a paying client. So we're going to do a little bit of fun notebook time. I kind of wish that we were in Zoom so we could use the fun and fancy whiteboard feature, but we don't have that. And I didn't make slides, so we're going to do this very much like we would if we were working together. So the first thing that you want to think about is your sales funnel. So as you know, your funnel is actually going to be shaped just like a regular funnel, and it has 3 parts. The top of your funnel is where people get to find out who you are. And these are usually the things that you do that are actually a little more passive because you put the information out there and then you kind of wait to see what the result is, right? You don't always know what's going to register with people. You're not talking face to face. You can't look at their facial expressions. You just put information out there and then you have to kind of develop your strategy from there. So that would be stuff like Instagram, maybe your Facebook page. Whoops, sorry. And things like that. And then in the middle part of your funnel, that's where you're going to actually nurture leads. This is where you start to create a space for them where it can be more one-on-one. So like this Facebook group, for example, this is a more one-on-one type of space. Thanks for the likes. This is a space where we can talk. Like I just told you, if you've got questions, throw them at me. I'm ready. I'm here for you. Um, Anything like that. So depending on your business model, this could look very different. You may host webinar. Maybe you do a webinar on Zoom and you do some sort of live training, which is sort of like what we're doing now. Maybe you have a networking event. It can be so many different types of things, but this is where you really get to have that closer connection. And then the bottom of your funnel is sales. Now, if you want to go more into funnels and how to work your funnel and all things funnels, creating your six-figure funnel, all of that good stuff, then that's available to you inside of this Facebook group. So that is some information, but essentially, yeah, this isn't always the best way. This is what our funnel is going to look like. So when we're talking about our client journey, it is the steps that we've mapped out, the exact steps. So if we were to give somebody directions, if we were to Google somebody to the bottom of our funnel, like Google Maps somebody to the bottom of our funnel, what exactly would that look like? So what often happens is especially I think as you get in your business more, as it kind of grows more, like you've tried different things, right? When you start off in your business, most of us are not in marketing, so we think, well, how do I get customers? I don't know. Let me Google this and figure this out. And so we try a bunch of different things. And what happens is we have all the different things, but then we're not getting results because they're not connected. Okay, we haven't created a clear client journey. We haven't created that roadmap to tell people how to get from one place to the other. And especially as we grow and we just have like more things, right? And so that you can cast a big net, but that doesn't mean you're going to get more fish, right? You got to figure out what kind of net, what time of day you're supposed to be fishing, what part of the ocean you're supposed to be fishing in. You got to know exactly what you're trying to catch, right? All of these things are very specific, and the client journey is what brings you back. It's what gives you your center. It's what gives you that clarity. We're like, this feels really easy instead of this feels overwhelming. I'm all over the place and I don't even know where to start to fix this. So client journey is going to be the steps through this funnel. You like my handwriting? It's kind of messy. Through this funnel. So the exact steps to take someone from how they find you all the way through here. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear Megan and I talk about this exact thing in relation to her business and where she's not getting conversions and just doing really simple steps. And one of the client journeys we mapped out for her, I mean, it worked within like a week or two. So it doesn't have to be really hard and complicated. And you can definitely grab your pen and your notebook paper and let's map out what that might look like for you. So client journeys, you want to look at your very top funnel and you want to ask yourself, okay, so how do I make myself visible? What's my visibility factor? For most of us, we can just, for example, use some pretty common and general things, which is usually going to be a digital marketing aspect. Social media is most likely. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, but you don't have to have all of them. And I really think that, especially for the case of figuring this out, it might be best for you to focus on one and really make sure that that journey is working for you, and then go on to the next one so that you're layering these in on top of each other. So let's just use Instagram as our example. If you want to map somebody from Instagram all the way to your sales, so whatever the thing is you're selling, and if anybody wants to pop on and tell me, what you've got in your business, what you're selling, kind of how you have been trying to lead customers there, we can work through that together and use you as an example and get some completely free coaching on that if you want to. So just hop in and let me know, or actually leave it in the comments. I don't have the link to do the live pop-ins, but wouldn't that have been great if I had not had COVID? Brayden thought that out. So let's say you're on Instagram and you are, doing all the things. Let's say that you're getting good engagement as far as people are watching your reels, you are having people you're getting kind of a regular stream of followers, but then you don't really know what's supposed to happen after that. Well, the thing is that you have to decide what happens after that. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how to move people from Instagram through Nurture. Just a few, these aren't things you have to do, but they're going to be really good examples for you to think about exactly how this works, because on your piece of paper, you want to write all of this down to where you know exactly what you want people to do. And then you go back and you look at what you're doing now and you say, okay, how does that compare? Does it support this client journey or not? Because you can make some really easy tweaks, and I'll give you some examples. So if you're using Instagram, you have to ask yourself, first of all, why are people following me on Instagram? I mean, what do they get? What is in it for them? And I think this question is more important now than ever before, because there's just more, right? There's more noise in the world. There's more noise in marketing. You really have to be clear on what people are getting there. What are they going to get when they follow you on Instagram? Excuse me. So this all depends on your client, right? And the way that you want to deliver that information. Having really funny reels is great and entertaining. And yes, that's going to get you in front of people, but it's not going to move people down your client journey. It's got to be something that's relevant to your business. So if you're really great at being entertaining on Instagram with your reels, then also think about how you can equally add in content that asks people to take the next step with you, and be really clear about that. So one, what do people get? Why are they on Instagram following me? What's in it for them? And then two, where do I want them to go? What is the next step? You could have a very simple strategy. Let's say that you don't have a Facebook group, you don't have a podcast, you don't have any sort of big extra container that you want people to move in. So your Instagram strategy could be as simple as you really just want them to join your email list. Okay. And the way that you could do that is that you can always push people to get into a conversation with you in the DMs, whatever you have to do. So that could be saying that, if you want to know more, message me in my DMs. You could tell them that you have this really great, whatever it is your free thing that people get when they sign up for your email list. Get them in the DMs. It can be conversation starters like, has this ever happened to you? Did this tip work for you? Have you ever found yourself in this situation, depending on your business, like a conversation starter, and getting them to answer? So maybe answering in the stories, answering in the reels, where you can then start a conversation with them that leads them into your DM so that you can offer them that other thing. Because, let's just be honest, who doesn't have an opt-in, right? Everybody's got something, because we're out here to serve. Of course, you've got value, but you have to find a way to present the value, and that's going to come through relationships, because growing your business and marketing is 100% about relationships. But what usually happens is that we're really good at one part or the other. Maybe you're really great at sales, but you're having a really hard time initiating the relationship. And maybe, which is usually the case for most entrepreneurs, we feel so comfortable sharing information, and that's our comfort zone, but we don't feel comfortable selling. So we never ask somebody. We just think, well, they see all my stuff, and of course they know what I do, and of course they know where to go if they want to work with me. But we are assuming that they are going to go to our bio, click on the link, scroll through our website, learn everything about us, fill out our contact form. That is a big assumption, right? We have to make it easy. That's why we have the client journey, because we want to make it such a natural next step that the process feels so easy that they don't even think about how they got there. They just get there. And I bet that if you put some thought into it, you can think of ways that this has happened for you. So that's another good way to kind of figure out what your client journey is. Think about maybe how you got in this Facebook group, or think about someone that you've worked with or purchased something before. How did you first find out about that person? And then what happened next, right? And then what happened next? So there's so many different ways that this can happen. And when you are intentional and you are planning this out, so if you know that your plan on Instagram is to get people to get in the DMs where you can then get them on your email list, because you have an onboarding series in there that tells them all about you, offers them some really great value, and pitches them the sale, right? Then you've got a really good plan. So the only thing you have to focus on is getting people in the DMs. You're not trying to like get some people in the DMs and get some people to do something else and like hope that they're going to get on your email list. And then once they get on your email list, you're just hoping that they'll eventually like one of your emails enough to buy from you. Like, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to wing it, right? We want to be really specific about what we're doing. And that is going to let us test it until we get it perfect. Like, you may find out that 3 emails works better to sell whatever it is you want to sell than 6 or 7 emails. And you might find out that these particular questions always get people in the DMs. And so then you have the opportunity to be able to give more and share more and sell. But you won't know that if you don't have this system figured out all the way. So again, a lot of times we're either really good at one part of it and we like kind of don't know what to do on the other part, or maybe we're getting so many people into the place we want, but then we're not really sure what the sales cycle looks like. So we don't really know how to sell it to them. And so we have all these people and we're not doing anything. We're not telling them to do anything. Or we're just kind of showing up and hoping that they're going to figure it out. So let's just decide today that we're not going to wing it anymore. We're going to be really specific and we're going to figure that out. So my client journey, I just want to say that my business is larger. I've been in business. This is my 8th year this month. So I've had a while to be here and do things. So don't feel like the way that I do things is the way that you should do things, or compare the way that you do it to me. It doesn't matter. You can make, in fact, I just heard a lady in one of my groups today talk about how she made $18,000 in 2 months off of her brand new Facebook group with 100 people in it. So, it's not about numbers, but it is about specificity. She had a group before that didn't really work out for her, but she said she didn't have any intention behind it. She didn't have a clear plan and a clear focus. So that's what we're doing here today, is getting that focus. So in my business, my main place where I nurture people is inside this Facebook group. But it's not just the one thing. So I would say there's different levels to it, because if you think about it, your funnel, it doesn't just, it has to get narrower and narrower and narrower, right? And so each one of those, if you think about a touch point, like what are my touch points along the way? Because that's what we're mapping out here. How do I get people from one place to the other? So for me, my podcast and most of the things that I do are asking people to come into the Facebook group. The reason why is because the Facebook group is where I can show up and give you the most value possible until you and I are working together one-on-one. And I know that when you're in this group and you've heard me talk, you're familiar with things that I say, the beliefs that I have about marketing, and that you and I are aligned. So that is one of the benefits of having a client journey, is that you're able to prepare your clients. You're able to take them on a journey from something that is intriguing and interesting to them to something that they know is the next right step for them. So we're not trying to talk to people who are just finding out who we are and saying, "Okay, you ready to work together?" Like, we all know that doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. And so if you have a client journey, you're giving people information along the way. You're leading them through a process, a journey of not just, I'm just trying to get you to buy from me. And I don't think that most of us feel that way. It's us being able to share enough about who we are and what we do and, how we do it, why it matters, that the other person knows if this is the right relationship for them. So it's like dating, right? It's a little back and forth. You're building a relationship, and your client journey is your process for doing that, so that people know who you are. They know what you stand for. They know how whatever it is that you believe, they know about the problem that you solve. They know how you solve that problem, and just whether or not they like you, because that's a big part of deciding to invest in someone or not. And they're getting all the information that they need to make a decision about whether or not they want to work with you. So that is why these client journeys are converting. That's why they work, is because one, people have a clear path, and your intention is there. So many times when people are like, oh, I'm not making enough sales, it's because they're not actually selling. So if you have this written down and you have this clear map, then you're going to know that you're selling, and you're going to feel good about it because you have this whole process of meeting people, giving them lots of value, and then offering to have the biggest impact that you can on their business. So as I said, you are in the place where I am nurturing, I'm giving you all this value, and it makes it easy for you to decide if I'm the right coach for you or not. It makes it easy for you to decide if this is the right time and the right next step for you, because you know what it's going to be like. You know the things that we're going to talk about. It's just, do you want that one-on-one level of service, right? Are you ready to invest in yourself and get the biggest impact in your business? So having this client journey makes that easy. So now I'll just give you a few examples of different ways that this can operate, because that is a very simplistic form. For me, it is the top level of social media and my podcast, which ask people to join the Facebook group. And from the Facebook group, I tell you more about my services. I ask you to get on a free call. So everybody that comes in the group gets a free call. It's a really important part of my client journey, because it also lets me know if this is right for you, because there's plenty of people that I talk to and it's just not the right time. But because I talk to you, I can tell you how to make it the right time. And that is really important and valuable for you, whether you work with me or you work with someone else. So those are important steps down into actually saying, if you're ready to work together, this is what that looks like, and going from there. Now, again, it can look very different for you depending on what kind of business you have. It doesn't have to have all of these steps, but I do have a lot of steps. So that's kind of the simple gist of it. But I have a nurture series inside of my email. So if I run a challenge, if I have people come to my website, if I want to advertise the opt-in that I have, like all of that is going to go through into that nurture sequence. I have, when I'm a guest on another podcast, I'm intentional about it. I don't just show up and, I love being a podcast guest or, in someone's Facebook group, any of those things. I get a lot of clients that way. And it's not because they hear me on the podcast and are like, yes, this is a person. It's because they hear me. They're interested in what I have to say. They either come into this Facebook group or they have an option to get a free call, right? And which leads into everything, and they get a lot of value and a nurture and all that good stuff. Or from whatever the speaking engagement is, whether it's live, or virtual, I have a gift for them. And so they can go to my website. So that's really just an opt-in, right? We all know it's an opt-in. And there's an email series. And at the end of that series, I'm going to offer them a free call. And kind of in the middle of that series, I'm going to ask them to join the Facebook group and, let them know about all the great things that happen here in the Facebook group. So there's like two options, but I am actively selling to that person and giving lots of value, but it's on autopilot. Like I don't have to think about it. It's already set up. It's already going that way. And you can do all of those things inside of your business too, when you know what the heck you're doing, right? When you have a plan and you figured it out. So these are a few different ways that you can do this. I had some pre-made cards to show you. Grab those out of my desk. In the beginning, I ask you to think about your Instagram or your social media and ask yourself, why is this important? Why should people follow me here? What's in it for them? So kind of a more visual way that you can do this. You can write it down on paper. First, people find me on Instagram. And then as soon as they follow me, then I send them a message and I thank them for following me. I engage them in conversation. Eventually, I ask them to join my email list to get this piece of content that's going to really help them with A, B, and C. Or then I ask them if they want to join my Facebook group because I'm doing a live this week about X, Y, and Z. Like, you see what I'm saying? You just want to kind of start the conversation. So you can do that. And whatever your second thing is, whether it is your email list or, anything, right? If you're having a challenge, this is another really good way to do this. Let's say you're having a challenge and you're not even doing it on Facebook. You're just doing it on Zoom. You can do the same thing. You can ask people questions to start a conversation about the topic, and then you can invite them. You can do the same thing in other Facebook groups. You can come into my group anytime and say, hey, who here wishes they had a morning routine? Well, I'm having a challenge about this morning routine. I'd love for you to join if this is something that you're struggling with. Here's the link to get involved. And so then they are like, yeah, well, I am interested in that. They click the link, they get on your email list, they get not only the content that you promised them, but some sort of additional content along the way, right? And then, but you got to think about it. But like, what happens after that? So you really have to write down each and everything so you're getting all the way through every single thing. I mean, ask yourself, well, what happens then? Well, what happens next? What happens next? And keep asking yourself that question until you get to the point where they say, yes, I'm sold. Let's work together. And honestly, ask yourself, and then what happens next? Because you want to make sure that that journey makes that person feel so supported through every bit of the process. They never have to question or wonder. And when you make somebody feel like that, then they're going to continue to want to engage with you, in any step of the process. So one thing that you can do, and this is, you can write down all of the different ways, like the major parts of your funnel. So it could be email, and put them on note cards. So these are 3 things inside of my email that people get. This is like, what's in it for you? If you're on my email list, you get prompted for a free call about once a month. You also get sold to, which that might not sound like what's in it for you, but it depends on your point of view. For me, I think that it is, because I'll let you know when I have something like a space available, if I have a group program, if I'm having a workshop, if I'm having a challenge, like anything like that, then you're going to get to know about it. I also have a weekly roundup. So this has links to everything that I have available. So it's all in one place, because I don't really expect for people to digest all the content, because I put out a lot of content, blog posts, emails, podcasts, lives in this Facebook group. There's a lot of stuff, right? So I don't expect that, but you can write it on these little cards if this helps you kind of organize it and actually lay it out. So if you have email, and then you can look and see, well, where does that fit in your strategy? And if you use your email list to always promote a free call, then like for me, it's a simple strategy call that you guys see posted in this Facebook group. And what's in it for them, or you, if you're on this particular call, let's see if it'll focus, is that you get to learn what to focus on in your business to get the most bang for your buck, so to say. So if you don't know how to focus in on a strategy to get more results, that's what we do. We figure out the one strategy that you should go all in on to get more results. So for me, it could look like this: email, simple strategy call. And then at the bottom of that, sales. So if someone gets on my email list, it's like I had to do everything backwards. If someone gets on my email list and they say yes to the free call, and then on the free call they say, okay, this has been really helpful, I think I could use some extra support in my business, then I say, great, let's talk about sales and how we can work together, right? So that's a very simple client journey. So you can put these on cards and kind of look at how you can put these together. So let's say that you are also a podcast guest. And you're like, okay, so I have my podcast. I'm a podcast guest. That's one way that I promote myself. And then I have email over here. How do I connect these two? Well, you've got to make sure that you have a freebie that connects listeners from your podcast guest onto your email, which then gives you the simple strategy card, whatever your call is. And then it leads to your sales. So if that's helpful, let me know. I'm not sure. It's kind of, I think it's a helpful approach, especially if you're a more visual person. But if that's helpful, definitely let me know if it feels like that would be something that would work to help you kind of get all, especially as you're just been in business longer, you have like things over here and things over here. But the best thing that you can do is figure out how to funnel all of these different aspects of your business, how to make them connect. You want to make them make sense, right? And the more that you decide and you're intentional about it, the easier it's going to be for potential clients as they are coming through these different channels and finding you or working with you, or however that might turn out. It's not going to happen so much on its own. So here's a few tips if you feel like you're not really sure. Think about the last maybe 5 clients that you've had and ask yourself how they found you. Even if it was a referral, like, it doesn't all have to be digital. You really want to think about these different ways. So I, for example, get a lot of referrals. And if I ask myself, how did I get those referrals, and sort of trace that backwards, I can still see a pattern, right? I can still see that. And then I can think, well, how can I get more referrals? Well, I could email people that I've worked with and say, thank you for the referral. I appreciate that. Yes, and more, please, right? There's so many things that you can do. But if you think about the last few clients that you've had, how did you find them? Now, here's like one extra thing that I want to add in about that. My throat is still very sore from the COVID. What's really funny to me is that we can have an idea of what we think it's supposed to look like and actually make it harder for us to grow our businesses because it's not happening that way. For example, I intentionally started this group because this was the place that I wanted to nurture people and convert them into clients, because I wanted a place where it felt like a safe space for me to show up and do exactly what I'm doing right here. That I wanted to have relationships and know people. I wanted to see faces and know about your business. And that's what I wanted. Like, whether or not you buy from me or not, I still wanted the space. So yes, I did want the conversions and the clients, but I don't expect every person in this group to be a client. But being able to help you asking me questions and having the opportunity to help you in your business, that's where it's at for me. That's what I'm interested in, and loved a few groups that I was in that really had this great community and really wanted that for myself. So that was always my intention. And I could have gotten really just upset and quit if I wasn't getting any clients, if that was my only intention, right? And I could have shut the group down when I wasn't getting clients from there, because I would have thought, well, if it's not happening, if this group isn't getting me clients, then what am I doing and why am I spending time here, and like, just forget it, right? So I could have not stuck with it, for one thing. But also, if my business is growing and I'm getting clients from referrals and I'm getting clients from my podcast, I can't be super pissed off that it's not happening this way, right? And forget about, like, what if I completely was like, I'm sick of this. This is not what I wanted. I wanted the clients to come here. And so I just stopped podcasting, and I stopped posting online, and I stopped, encouraging people, or thanking people for referrals, which I feel like keeps me on the top of their mind and helps with getting more referrals. But anyway, I could have stopped doing all that because I was mad because it wasn't happening this way. And that sounds crazy, right? But people do it all the time. I have clients all the time who get so upset because they're not getting clients in the way that they thought they were going to get clients. And they completely dismiss that, clients are coming in over here. They are. And a lot of times it really is referrals. It's usually those personal relationships, those in-person networking, referrals. But they're like, but I have an online business and I'm doing all this stuff because I want clients this way. And they don't even see all the opportunities that are over here. So defining your client journey is an amazing way to make that happen. And you can also get clients in other ways. So if you have had that experience, or you are really dead set on it being a certain way, make sure that you do this exercise where you look at where you got your last 5 clients, because it could be a completely different way than you maybe didn't even realize. Like, what if you're spending all your time on Instagram trying to get clients from Instagram, but the last 5 clients were referrals? I mean, what does that tell you? You should be really grateful that you're getting the referrals and continue to do whatever you're doing to get the referrals, right? But you can also refine your strategy on Instagram and do things a little bit differently, because it's not in doing more reels. That's what most people think, but I can tell you the biggest misconception is that if you're not getting enough sales, you just need to get more visible. I'm telling you, I've never seen that actually be the case. It's only the case if you're already getting a good amount of sales because your client journey is working for you and converting. And then all you have to do is pour in more people at the top of your funnel, which is what we're talking about when we say visibility. So if you're not getting the sales that you want, it's absolutely not because you just need to get more visible. It's because you need to do this client journey exercise. You need to think about your 6-figure funnel and map it out. So again, the few things that it's going to help you with is you're going to have a clear journey for your client, which is going to make them feel very taken care of. They're going to be on this journey with you. They're going to get information. They're going to get value. They're going to learn about who you are, and they're going to get sold to, which often doesn't happen if we don't map this out. This is going to connect everything so that you're not having to market like crazy over here, market like crazy over there. You just know where you need to put your focus and have everything else run after that. That's a huge part of figuring out what your signature marketing system is. And I'm going to sell to you right now here in this group where I've given you all of this information. If you want to work with a coach one-on-one to get the maximum amount of support and impact in your business to define your signature marketing system so you know how to get clients on repeat, then you know where to find me, right? I'm right here in this group every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, giving you value and coaching. Bring your questions. I'm here for you to answer any questions that you might have. And if you want to know what it would really be like to work with a coach, me in particular, then make sure and listen to the Magnetic Entrepreneur podcast, which is live or not live. I guess the episode goes live every Monday, and then there's a takeaway episode on Wednesday. It's usually about 15 or 20 minutes where I pull out some of the key nuggets and tell you this is how you can use this in your business, because I want each and every one of you to really be able to have the impact that you want, right? I want you to be able to serve the way you want and have more freedom and flexibility and, make money. Yeah, let's all make some more money. So if anybody has any questions and you are watching with me now, you can let me know in the comments and I'll read those. And if you're watching the replay, just leave those inside of the replay. I'll come back and answer them later when I see it, especially if you tag me. I'm probably more likely to see it. I don't always see questions and things until maybe like the next day or so. So I hope that this has been really helpful in figuring out what your client journey is so that you can get more conversions inside of your business. And again, got questions? Then I've got answers, and just make sure and leave those for me.